What's up, guys? All Things MTG here today, coming at you with a Commander deck tech. Yeah, sorry it's been a while. I've kind of sort of shifted out of all formats of Magic except for Commander. But this deck, it's taken me a little bit to build, I won't admit, but I managed to get most of the cards. Also, I managed to get most of them thanks to a cool little site called CardKingdom.com. I would recommend it to anybody. But enough of that. This is not a sponsored video. I just like it. Enough of that. Let's get to the deck tech. We've got Krosan. He's a 3-mana 2/2 for 3 green. This is a Druid tribal deck because his ability says tap and untap Druid you control and add a green to your mana pool. The cool thing is this ability gets around haste. And I do like his art and his flavor text too. It's pretty cool. But most of the deck is druids. And there are some that don't say they're druids, but they really are. It's a little confusing. So first we have our non-creature spells. We've got Basic Tutor and Worldly Tutor, search for a creature. I run a few decent creatures. This can help me get them. I run Green Sun as another tutor. This one puts it right into play. Unfortunately, I can't afford like Court of Calling or anything else, or I would. I'd probably run Birthing Pod in this deck because I've got a nice little chain, as you'll see, because of my little... I have this habit, putting things in order by mana cost. So you'll see I've got a nice little chain, but if I could afford it, I'd put Birthing Pod in here. We've got Green Suns. It's reusable too because it shuffles into our library. Now we've got Vitalize, which we can use to untap all of our creatures. Lets us tap everything out to play a bunch of stuff and add mana. And then we drop this and we can untap everything, usually for a very big swing. It's a fun card. A little bit win more sometimes, but it's fun. Next we have Stoneforge Masterwork, which is something I haven't really seen because when I did research on this deck, I didn't really see this in many other Seton decks. Seton. But this card, it's a 1-mana artifact with a 2 equip. It's basically a coat of arms for a creature. Now we put this on Seton and we can hit 21 commander easily, and it's just a fun card. I liked it enough to put it in. Next we have Oath of Druids. It fits the theme of it's a druid oath, you know. Also, it lets us get creatures and put them into play if we have less creatures than another player, which when we want to drop this, we might. And it fuels Threshold, which we have a few Threshold cards. Not many, but they're pretty decent, so I'd like to fuel them. And then we have Steely Resolve, which is really one of our only like few actual tribal focus cards, because it basically gives all of our druids Shroud. It's a good card. Now we have Thought Vessel. This is a 2-mana artifact. It's not really in the deck for the mana. It's in the deck for that ability that says you have no maximum hand size. Because there are, 3 cards that let us draw insane amounts of cards, and then some more that let us gradually draw lots of cards. And we don't like to discard, really, because although it does fuel Threshold, we want to use these cards. So this kind of lets us keep them. Then we have Quest for Renewal. In this deck, it's easy to do the 4 counters. We can do it almost on the turn we cast it, depending on what our hand looks like. But it's basically like a Seedborn Muse that's a little harder to get rid of, which is nice. We have Gaia's Touch. It's an enchantment. It really fuels our devotion with its cost. We can play in addition. The majority of our lands are basic forests. We only have 3 non-basics. And we can sacrifice it to add 2 green to our mana pool at instant speed we can do, which we don't really hurt for mana in this deck, but if we need to, we can get rid of it. We have Lignify. This is some little removal because, you know, it's kind of fun. Good way we can kill off, we can get rid of a problem creature without killing it. Like get rid of someone, play this on someone's commanders so they can't put it back in the command zone, but it's still dealt with and has no problems. Sylvan Scrying. This is a 2-mana card. It's a sorcery, but it lets us search for any of our non-basic lands if we need them, or we can search for a basic land. Like this lets us get Nykthos if we need it. We have Emerald Medallion. Yeah, I kind of do like to pimp for the older versions of cards if possible. Although sometimes they're not always the cheapest, they are the coolest. But this lowers our curve for all of our green spells, which is pretty nice to play. Then we have Hall of Gemstone. We're a monocolor deck, so this doesn't really hurt us. This is one of 2 enchantments we play that is kind of serves as our little soft mana lock package to let us kind of play unhindered for a bit. It's a pretty good card. I like it so far. And next we have Beastmaster's Ascension, another card that's kind of somewhat easy to activate because we could just swarm the board with creatures, and it gives us a huge boost. Okay, I might have lied. This is one of. There's only one other card after this, I believe, that cares about the druid creature type aside from our commander. And this card is good because it lets us reveal if it's a druid. Most of our creatures are druids, so we don't have to worry about flipping a creature that's not a druid. But it's where hitting non-creatures that kind of can be problematic sometimes. But we do have more creatures. Then we have Lifecrafter's Bestiary. Lets us draw a card when we play a creature, which is often. We don't have to really worry about the green mana cost because we tend to generate a lot of mana. And this is a scry each turn, so we can make sure we draw what we need when we need it. Ronus's Monument decreases the cost for our creatures, which is nice, and it can pump up a creature and give it +2/+2 and trample. When we play a creature, can kind of help us get in some Centaur Druid beats if we need to. Krosan Gript blows up an artifact or enchantment if we need it. Not much else to say about this card. I don't usually believe in running staple cards, using finger quotes you can barely see, sorry. Because I believe that every deck, even if it shares the same colors, their strategy is completely different. And I don't believe in the whole automatic slots for like where you have to put something in just because it's running in the colors. Because then it's taking away from cards that could actually benefit your strategy. But that's just me. This is one card, however, I did put in because in green we do have some trouble. But this also, it fits because it's a druid saying the flavor text, so this fits in the theme. Next we have Lead the Stampede. Just lets us put creatures into our hand and the rest on the bottom. I kind of like to think this elf is a druid, but that's it. It's kind of good. Vernal Bloom. We play forest, so this basically serves as doubles our mana, which is nice. Artisan's Sorrow. Lets us scry and blows up an artifact or an enchantment. Not the best, but I do like figured Setting's the kind of deck that makes not very good cards shine, so I figured I'd try it, and I haven't had any problems with it. It's worked fine for me. Shamanic Revelation. You can gain life, but drawing tons of cards. This is one of the cards that I said draws us a crap ton of life. We have Coat of Arms, which don't quote me on this, I believe is the last card that cares about the druid creature type aside from our commander. And it's a good one. I was lucky to have a copy of these because these things are kind of not the cheapest. And I tried to build this deck somewhat. Dictative Karametra. Yes, this one benefits all players, which doesn't really work sometimes if we have our soft lockout. But we can flash it in. And because this benefits all players, if we don't have our our lock in place yet, our little mana lock, so we can do stuff and let people not, which we only really use sometimes. I don't play it all that often, honestly. This benefits all players. Vernal Bloom does too, but this is less specific. So people can kind of keep us around longer because they benefit from this. Next we have Primal Command. I figured this would be a druidy card, and most of its abilities are not bad. So this kind of can help us out. Next we have Garruk, Caller of Beasts. He looks at the top 5. We can play green creatures is a good thing. His ultimate is insane too, but mostly we have him to do the top +1 of our library. This is our second Ritual of Subdual. This is the second part of. Sorry, the camera's shaking. This is the second part of our soft mana lock. That the cumulative upkeep. Sorry about that. Is kind of a little bit nasty, but all lands producing mana produce colorless, which we generate mana from our creatures with Settin and other creatures, so we don't have to worry about that as much. This kind of package is more killer on multicolor decks, which can sometimes get more. Okay, Collective Unconscious. Basically the worst Shamanic Revelation. Desert Twister. Just blows up a permanent at sorcery speed, honestly. That's the only reason I included that, and it's a fun card. It's older. Primal Surge. Not the best. Sorry, let me zoom out a bit. There we go. Not the best card with we run a little more non-creature permanents. Well, permanents we run a decent amount. We run a little bit more non-permanent spells than we probably should with Primal Surge, but honestly I haven't had any problems with it. But next we'll move on to the creature base. We're going to start with our non-druids first. I run personally, focus, thank you. I run Mistcutter Hydra because this is basically, it can't be countered as haste and protection from blue. And it's a mana dump is what we use it for, to dump as much mana as possible, because we can generate a lot. This is basically like my walking Helix Pinnacle, in a way, because Helix Pinnacle is crap expensive. Honestly, I just can't afford it at this point. And it's worked so far for me. Scrib Ranger. We have Flying Pro Blue and Flash. Basically, it's a cheaper, not as good, but still effective Kyrian. I believe they're Kyrian elves, or it might be Ranger who has this ability. It's kind of confusing. But that's basically what it's in for. You can untap a creature. The downside is you can only do it once. Soul of the Harvest. When a non-token creature enters the battlefield into your control, I may draw a card. Not much special. And it's a 6/6 trampling body, which isn't bad. Regal Force. That card is one of the other cards I said that lets us draw a massive amount at once. Because it's for 7 mana, we get a 5/5. When it comes into play, draw a card for each green creature you control. We draw a lot of cards most of the time, because we use our creatures to help ramp into this, so we're drawing a lot of cards. A lot of cards. Avenger of Zendikar. We can get a decent amount of lands into play, and this helps us benefit from those. I figured it's an elemental, which go decently with druids, which is Regal Force, and Soul of the Harvest even too. So I figured it kind of fits the theme, but this is a little dicey since it's one of those automatic throw-ins, but it fits in the deck. Then we have Craterhoof. I had it, I know, auto, but this card is good. I'm honestly debating taking it out because it seems more win more, especially with the card that is not behind it, but the one after it. Actually, the one behind it might go to Terastodon. Just blowing stuff up. Not much else to say. It's a 9/9. Now this card is fun. 7/7 that gives all with trample and haste, and when we cast it, so it can get countered, and we still get the +2/+2 and gain trample, which is nice. Most of the time, we don't have to worry about emerging it. We can actually hardcast it, and have plenty of mana. This is the top of our non-druid curve. Now we're gonna get into our druids, starting with our 1-mana druids. We've got the Llanowar elves. Don't really need to explain. We've got Krosan Wayfarer. Oh jeez, messing everything up. Basically, we can. He's a druid who also taps for mana with Setna, but he fuels Threshold too, because we can sacrifice him to put a land from our hand into play. Not even tapped, but just untapped into play. Elvish Pioneer puts a land into our basic land from our hand into play, but tapped. Oops. Elvish Mystic. It's not bad. Not really much to say. Arbor Elf. Not much to say. Sylvan Advocate. Now this one, he's a Vigilance, so you can attack with him and then still tap him for mana, which isn't bad. And he gets a decent bonus when you have if you have 6 or more lands. His land creatures ability, we don't have anything that turns lands into creatures permanently, but Kamahl does turn lands into creatures, so we can use that to pump our board more to do a fatal swing if we have to, which is nice. Voyaging Satyr. He's one of the cards that can untap our Nykthos to help us generate a ton of mana. Werebear. I just love this card. Honestly, I wanted to get the older art one, but I settled for this one. But I like the older art one better, considering its flavor text is he has the right to bear arms. But this is one of our Threshold cards, so he becomes a decent beater with Threshold, and he taps for mana. Throw cards. We have Broodhatch Nantuko. It's basically a little combat trick on a druid. Honestly, if I cut anything else, it'd be this guy. Then we don't have many 2-drops. But next we have our 3-drop druids. Moldiah Channelers can become a decent sized body if the top card's a creature. And if the top card's a land, it can tap for 2 mana, which isn't bad. We have Architect of the Untamed. We can get lands coming into play decently, so I figured we'd, get a decent amount of energy counters, so I figured we could use it. And we can get a beast token if we get enough lands. So I figured it was worth a shot. Might cut this one too, honestly. Krosan Restorer, one of our better Threshold creatures, and lets us untap like Nykthos or lands. Null Mage Advocate. This is one of our... I like this flavor text, honestly. It's great. Sorry about that. Had to do a quick cut. Oh, Null Mage Advocate, what was I saying? Oh yeah. It's one of our 3-mana cards, a 2/3. Basically what it says is tap it and we blow up an artifact or enchantment. It's a great political card because we could say we can have an opponent return some lands if a guy has his lands blown up or something and he needs them to blow up an artifact or enchantment. And it's just an all-around great political card. And then we have Farhaven Elf. We search for a land and it taps for a setting. That 3 mana. Not bad. Elvish Harbinger usually gets us a Gilt-Leaf Archdruid, which we're running for a card draw. And we can tap it for a setting or search for any other elves we need. We have Nantuko Blightcutter, one of our other Threshold guys, who is pretty good against black decks, and basically he's just there to kind of beat on some black decks. Because there's a few in my commander circle I play as. Ley Druid. This is one of our druids who doesn't say he's a druid, but he really is. He's another land untapper, so we can abuse Nykthos some more. Nantuko Mentor. He basically, Chameleon Colossus is a guy, which isn't bad when you have a big dude and you're making him bigger. Juniper Order Druid. Again, another druid who doesn't say he's a druid but is really a druid. Another untapper too. Karametra's Acolyte. This guy generates insane amounts of mana with Seton. Combined with the Scrib Rangers, allows us to abuse him. So much mana. Nantuko Cultivator. Lets us use our extra lands to make him bigger. Fuel Threshold, and really draw cards is what we use him for. Chameleon Colossus. Another bully against black decks. Can get huge and is a druid, but he doesn't say he's a druid. Also shiny. Argothian Elder, a druid who lets us untap 2 lands. Not much else to say. Paragon of Eternal Wilds, a druid who makes other druids bigger and gives our dudes trample. Ondu Giant, how many times can I say druid? He searches for a land, taps for mana, and is just a big druid. Gilt Leaf, draw a card if we get a druid. Usually we don't use that last ability, but it is a nice thing to kind of threaten, which helps us not get messed with as much. Kesa, another druid, gives all our creatures, all of our green creatures, druid or not, +1/+1, so she's not bad, and she taps for mana. Baru, Fist of Krosa. We don't use his grandeur ability that much, but his whenever a forest comes into play, buffing green creatures is pretty good. Seed God Ash, when he's basically our wrath protection, because when he dies, we search for 3 forests and put him into play, which is not bad. This is one of the cards that makes me kind of want to run Birthing Pod in the deck, so that way we can more consistently kill him. Kamal, don't need to explain. His Overrun is the most used ability. But if we have a Sylvan Advocate out, it's like 6 or 7 lands, and we need to swing in for damage with Kamal, and Kamal's out, we can use his ability to turn our lands into creatures, and swing in, and just annihilate someone. But most of the time we use it for some wrath protection. Thriss, he's a 5/5 for 7, he's an insect druid. Basically, we use him to make a dude huge, and that's really all he's used for, but he's actually the last druid at 7. We only run 3 non-basics. Nykthos, Shrine to Nyx, so we can get tons of mana. Orin Reef, and Temple of the False God, and then I think somewhere around 23 to 24 forests. But that is my Seton Krosan Protector deck. I hope you guys liked it. If you have any suggestions for cards I can put in for the cards I'm cutting, then just let me know. And thanks, guys. Thanks for watching.